If I'm completely honest with you guys, I thought this was going to be a lot more controversial than it actually is. Or perhaps that's just the way I see it. Spoilers ahead. So, Conclave is a movie about, guess what? A conclave. If you have no knowledge of the lore of the church or haven't seen the movie, then to summarize it, it is the process of how the next pope is elected. I wrote this review before the pope died, so yeah, going back. It's all very secretive and hermetic. That's partly what makes this film fascinating. We're getting a behind the scenes of roughly how it goes. Now, in this film, it's a far less usual conclave, but still, it's interesting how the writer actually researched it a bit. Apparently, cardinals in pectore are actually a thing. I didn't know that. And it's just cool to see these extremely powerful and influential people in this high stakes situation. Just so you know, cardinals have a lot of power and influence in a lot of governments, and they choose the next pope, which will inevitably influence the lives of millions, if not billions of people. So it's a really big deal. So that's also partly why it's somewhat controversial. Some view this film as a mockery of the church or portraying it in a bad light, and this is my personal take on it. As someone who has done some research over the years and has access to the church, I would say that it's mostly accurate. I'm a critical Catholic, so it's sort of in the culture thing. I would say it's mostly accurate. There are more liberal cardinals than others, and there is a sector of the church that wants more tradition and less quote-unquote wokeism. So a figure such as Cardinal Tedesco in reality isn't that controversial. I wouldn't be surprised if they model some of these cardinals after real-life ones. Maybe I'm splitting hairs, but the only unrealistic thing I could notice was that Cardinal Lawrence says that Jesus doubted. And this isn't a channel about theology, but I can assure you that no cardinal would say that because that's not what the historical theological agreements within the church say. So I think that when they wrote this thing, they just thought it was a nice hook for the story. But, that's not really why it happened. Maybe I am splitting hairs, I don't know. And you may say, well, Gabriel, if that's not part of the story, if it's just like a theological thing, why would it matter? And to that, I would say, because it kind of bases the whole concept of doubting as a positive quality, as an asset. And they quote that phrase from Lawrence's homily a couple of times. But again, I might be splitting hairs here. This is a work of fiction, after all. The true controversy is in the ending. The big reveal, Benitez is at least biologically, or whatever you want to call it, a woman. Or that's what they try to tell us, at least. For a second, I thought Benitez had undergone a gender reassignment procedure, but no, that would have been a bit of a far-fetched scenario. The church has a lot of control, and I don't think that would be possible, even if they say there was a woman pope like a million years ago. I don't know. But this one is very, very interesting. So they cast some doubt over the whole thing. Benitez didn't know, and he grew up like a boy. And from what we get in the dialogue, to the world, Benitez probably looked closer to a male. And that I can't totally believe. That's something that has happened in the past. People find out they have some remnants of incomplete processes during the gestation period or whatnot. There are like a billion rare conditions out there. And Benitez finds out about these uterus long after being ordained and all of that. So is he fit for Pope or not? That's the question. And the film makes it clear that he was born like that. So if God made him like that, what is his true identity? At least to the eyes of the church, I'm afraid I can't answer that. I'm not qualified. I'm just a guy who talks about movies online. I do not have the credentials for that. I'm sure you could bring 10 qualified people and it won't be an unanimous decision. And again, this is a work of fiction, you guys. As far as we know, that hasn't happened yet. But then if you think about it, this condition is very rare, but we've had popes for 2,000 years. So maybe, well, what are the chances, right? 300 years ago, we would have never been able to tell if someone had an uterus, but outside looked like a conventional male person. So maybe not. Definitely, we've had a lot of people who had different internal organs, and but appeared as a different gender or whatever. So that's the very interesting question of this film, and that's where the heart of the film is. It makes us question what we think. How do we define what a woman or what a man is? If we only go by biology, then Benitez is a woman. But if we go by his upbringing and how he looks physically, yeah, maybe he's neither. Well, that could also be there could also be a case for that. So that's what is really striking about this film and what makes it very different and very interesting, aside from the whole conclave thing and the voting and all that, which is very interesting, and the whole process. That's very cool. But that is the core of the film, and that I believe is super interesting. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm not gonna make any assumptions here, but it's very interesting. I've said interesting like a million times. That's probably telling you something right now. But you know what did happen? Those performances, holy crap. Wow, Ray Fiennes is just stellar, guys. I can see him winning an Academy Award, and it would be deserved. He didn't win the Academy Award because I'm coming from the future, and the person who wrote this thing, me, months ago, didn't know that. So yeah, he didn't win. But it's not just Ray Fiennes who's great, everyone else shines here. Sergio Castellitto is a badass. When he pulled out that vape, it was one, unexpected, and two, cool as. And the rest of the cast is, again, great. The direction is solid. It certainly has this feeling of high stakes and stress plastered all over it. The church's outfits are just too cool. So that, paired with the already majestic architecture of the Vatican, is an excellent breeding ground for great shots if framed properly. And the director framed it perfectly. In terms of rewatchability, I'd say it's a solid 90% rewatchable. It's interesting, well shot, and it makes you think for a bit. If you're a Christian or any denomination, but particularly Catholic, please remember that this is a work of fiction. And please don't judge a movie or anything really based on the opinion of someone else, including myself, especially myself. Watch the movie and judge it for yourself. Conclave shows us the behind the scenes of a process that is conducted by people, and people have their flaws. Therefore, they're going to pick someone flawed, like we're all. That's part of the interesting aspect of the film. The people in the church aren't supposed to be perfect, but they are supposed to be humble enough to understand that they are not in fact perfect. If you're looking for a canonically accurate film, then this isn't it. But if you're after a solid film that happens to use the vehicle of a conclave, then I would say you'll probably like it. I wrote this thing months ago, and now the Pope is gone, and, well, crazy times. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.